International travel planning. What should you bring along? Now, some countries will have certain restrictions on what you can bring along, but and I'm talking more specifically about the Philippines, but it will include packing for many other countries as well. I'll get into some of the details. I'm also looking for suggestions and comments about some of the things I may have missed, some of the things that you would recommend. Make a list, definitely make a list so you don't forget anything. Of course, traveling internationally, you are going to need a passport, even from the US going into Canada or Mexico now. I think you were required to have a passport. That wasn't always the case. Some countries allow you to apply for a visa online. Some countries you can go to their embassy or consulate in your country to apply for a visa. Some countries, I know I applied in Vietnam. I applied for I think 1 month visa. I did it online. It was a visa on arrival type thing, but I had to get approved before I arrived there. In the Philippines, you need a passport that still has at least 6 months of eligibility, so it's not going to expire in the next 6 months at the time that you arrive in the Philippines. Most people from most nations in the world, but not all, there are a couple exceptions. I think India, Israel, a couple other exceptions, have special type requirements, I guess. Most countries, people can arrive and get a visa on arrival. You fly here without a visa, you go through customs and immigration at the airport when you arrive, and they'll give you a 30-day free stay in the country. Now you can extend that before that month is over. Here in July of 2023, there is a law going through Congress in the Philippines that they may extend that 30-day free stay to 59 days. So keep that in mind. That may change in the future. And for those of you who have not traveled internationally before, this is an open passport, and this is kind of what the various stamps look. You know, the Philippines used to use a sticker that they would with an adhesive backing, and then they ran out of that. So for a number of years, they were just only giving out receipts that they would staple into your passport. Really was kind of a mess, but that's the way it was. I'm not sure if they've gone back to the stickers or not. I'm going to cover many things that you probably wouldn't think about, but having experienced some international travel and just the advice from others, we're going to go over odd things. Of course, money. You're going to need money, cash money and or credit cards, debit cards. There are other digital ways to make payments here around the world that are accepted in many countries as well. Gcash, Alipay, a number of other types of digital cash. Basically, it amounts to you're putting cash on a card, like similar to a prepaid debit card. In European countries, I think they've got a system that is active there that is quite extensive. You're going to want to transfer some of your country's cash into the local currency in the Philippines, Philippine peso. You can do that at airports, and there are, like here in Cebu City, over on Mactan Island, the international airport, there is a money exchange inside of the airport, and I'm told that the money exchange right on the outside, the exterior of the airport terminal, there is another money exchange. You know, all these things can change, so just take that into account. What I say is the fact, and may change by the time you get here. But you can also change money probably at your own country bank. My bank said, well, it would take them about a week to get the money, the Philippine pesos. Now you can come into the Philippines with up to 10,000 US dollars or the equivalent without declaring that money. After that, you have to declare that amount and prove that you have illegal access to that, I guess. It's also important, if you're bringing money from your country, to have the newest crisp bills that you can get from your bank or wherever you get them from, because they probably will not accept a number of types of bills. Old bills, bills that have been written on or torn a little bit. Most places will not take those, or if they do take them, here in the Philippines at least, they will give you a much lower rate. They also prefer the higher denominations, hundreds and fifties. You get a lesser rate if you're using $20 bills, for instance. And if you're exchanging bills at the airport, be sure to get some smaller bills as well, because you'll find that taxi drivers, other places you want to spend money right away, will tell you many times, "No change, sir." So you will end up leaving them with a very large tip if all you have is 1,000 peso notes, which is about $20 US at 50 pesos to the US dollar. If you are in the Philippines and some other countries, you will find that cash is still king in many areas. Many areas do not take credit cards, for instance. In the malls and like grocery stores, department stores, they generally will take a credit card, a foreign credit card, but it's not guaranteed. Once you get out of the city, and even in the city, you'll find some places that do not take credit cards. They may be offline. I've had that happen, even at a pretty famous, pretty popular resort. They were offline on another island, offline, and they couldn't transact with my credit card for the first 2 days. They finally got it done on the third day. So you might have to plan on carrying a little more cash than you would be normally used to doing. If you go off the main island, get out of the bigger cities, you also find that, and even in the bigger cities, you can find that ATM machines are out of cash or not operating sometimes. I've had that happen where I was on an island and there was only one bank that had an ATM machine that accepted foreign ATM cards, and half the time it was either broke or out of cash. I was able to get some cash, fortunately. Electronics, your laptops, your tablets, your cell phones. Now, fortunately, for many, many, many years, these things have been designed to operate on a varying voltages. 110 is the most common in the USA, but over here in the Philippines and many other parts of the world, 220 volts are more common. But the power adapters for these things and the units themselves are set up to operate on those types of voltage changes. So you do not need a special power adapter, charging adapter. Some countries and even buildings do not regulate their voltage real well. And I mean, that can happen all over the world. You can get voltage spikes that will damage your electronics. If you're just traveling as a tourist, carrying a voltage regulator would be kind of a large nuisance, but might protect your equipment. What about electrical plug adapters? Various countries around the world have different types of electrical outlets. And I bought this particular device, a kind of, I called a universal electrical plug adapter, I think. Bought on Amazon, I believe, bought online anyway. And I think I've only used it one time where I had an appliance, and I'm here longer term, so I bought a number of appliances, and I needed it to, because the appliance itself had kind of a strange plug and didn't fit the normal plug here in the Philippines. But under most circumstances, my US plugs work in the Philippines plugs in most instances, but you may want to bring along an adapter, especially if you're going to be traveling to other countries as well. My experience has been that it's much easier to find and often cheaper to purchase this type of thing in the USA or perhaps your country, wherever you're from, than to try to find it and purchase it here in the Philippines, because 99% of the time it is imported, and it's going to take you a week or longer to get it shipped to you. The one thing that I've experienced is that there seems to be a lack of electrical outlets. I've lived in 6 different condos in 7.5 years and almost 8 years now. And I've had to buy a number of extension cords in order to plug in my various items that I want to run in the kitchen and the bedroom areas. Will your cell phone from your country work in the Philippines? This can get a little bit complicated. In most cases, the answer will be yes. Most people who come here. Well, number one, is your phone locked? Does your carrier, do you have a contract? Do you have a subsidized phone where you're getting a lower monthly rate because you are basically paying for that phone over time? They may lock your phone, probably will lock your phone in the USA anyway. And you can ask them if you're traveling internationally, you can ask them to unlock your phone so that you can travel internationally. And the one thing you don't want to do is be on roaming. You want to turn off roaming when you're out of your country, out of your region, because you can wind up with a very large bill if you're roaming. If your phone is unlocked, which I bought a two SIM phone in the USA and brought it here, so I can have two different carriers on the same phone. Not sure if that's allowed yet in the USA. It didn't used to. The carriers wouldn't allow that. But I have Globe and Smart here, and I usually use Globe, but if I'm traveling, I will load Smart as well. Put some credit on the prepaid credit so that in some areas Smart will be the better choice, so that I always have or hopefully usually have a connection. Although traveling some of the islands, doesn't matter where you're at, you're going to have a very poor connection at this point in time. If your phone operates on a CDMA type system, I think, does Verizon still have that in the USA? I know Sprint, Nextel had CDMA phones. I know Verizon at some point in the past, they had a contract with Bayan Telecommunications here in the Philippines so that their phone could operate on a roaming type system here. So it's best to do a search online and ask the question online search, will my phone operate in the Philippines? 99% of or 90% of the time that it probably will. You just have to get a local SIM here. Now I got a message from a subscriber just today. I think he emailed me. And he said he messaged me, but I never received the message. So he's on a U.S. phone system. Not sure which one, but he's on their overseas program while he's traveling as a tourist, I believe. And he said he texted me, but I did not receive the text. I did receive his email. That's a completely different type setup, though. And I would suggest that you bring a power bank along, and the airlines have limits on how powerful they can be if you take them as a carry-on power bank, so you can charge your phone or other items. And I think the limit for many carriers is about 20,000 watts. Not positive, might be lower than that, so check with your airline. You definitely don't want to be traveling and need to make or receive that very important phone call or text or email on your phone, and you have lost all of your battery power. Medicine, especially prescription medicine, could be very critical as you're traveling internationally. May or may not be available under the same brand name that you are used to getting. Be sure to bring your prescriptions along in case you are questioned about what it is and what authority you have to be carrying those prescriptions. Some of your more, I don't know what you call high end or narcotic type painkillers and stuff, I've heard there are only certain types of doctors who can prescribe those here. In fact, I had a friend who went to get some sleeping pills here a couple of years ago, and he got a prescription from somebody, took it to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy said that doctor doesn't have the authority to give that prescription, so he had to go see another doctor who was qualified to do that and get that prescription. I have heard lots of experiences and stories here in the Philippines about foreigners. Some say, I just bring my I bring my prescription bottle down to the pharmacy, and they saw my name on it, verified my name, and they filled my prescription. Not always going to be that easy, especially if you don't have that prescription bottle and or prescription with you. I do suggest that even over-the-counter drugs, it's not like in the U.S. Where at a Walmart or something, Costco, you can grab these over-the-counter drugs off the shelf and take them up to the cashier. A lot of those are behind the counter, like you see here. You have to go to the pharmacist counter and ask them for a lot of the drugs that you might be used to just picking up off the shelf. And I suggest you write the name of that down. Now, their brand name, the name that they're familiar with, may be different than what you use. So my problem, one of the problems I had here was trying to tell them what I was looking for, and to get the quantity that I wanted. For instance, I don't anymore, but I used to take a lot of Tums for stomach upset. Now I have a different solution, but went to a farm. Most pharmacies didn't carry it, didn't understand what I was looking for. Finally found one that had it, and they said, "Well, how many do you want?" I said, "Well, I want one. I want one bottle, one package." And they gave me one pill. No, no, I want the whole, all of that. No, not allowed. You're not allowed to have all of it. You have to share. And my experience is that once we finally nail it down to what I'm looking for, is that the print on that, they hand you this little, they're all encapsulated in some way, probably because of the higher humidity here to protect them, rather than in a bottle. And the print on those things are so small, you almost need a magnifying glass to read what it actually is. And sometimes I do. I carry a little magnifying glass with me, depending upon what I'm shopping for. And write down not just the brand name, write down the actual name of the medicine, for instance. Aleve, which is a popular painkiller, the most popular, I think, in Europe, and the U.S. Wouldn't allow it in their country for many, many years, but it is available here. But it's not called Aleve, it's called Flanax, and probably has a different name than that as well. But I get it by the name of Flanax, and they have name brand Flanax, and they've got generic. And I found not all generics are the same, and sometimes the name brand works better, but it's much more expensive. Um, sometimes I've tried different generics, and one brand of generic works much better than the next brand. So you just something trial and error. Should you bring appliances along and tools? Well, it depends upon their voltage, I guess. If they operate on 220 like it is here in the Philippines and many other parts of the world, that's one thing. If not, you're going to have to get a uh, a voltage transformer to change the voltage coming out. And because virtually everything in the U.S., not everything, but all your basic tools and appliances pretty much run on 110 volts. And that piece of equipment can cost little money and be large in order to handle the equipment that you want to run. I did meet a guy some years ago that brought a blender, took up big space in his suitcase, and then he found out that it didn't work on the voltage here. He had to go down and get a voltage transformer. Met some guys on the street a couple of years ago. They were looking for a 330 voltage transformer for their 110 voltage. Their father, who had lived here for years, told them that that's what they needed, that it was 330 volts here. So I corrected them on that. They were having a heck of a time going to the hardware stores trying to find a 330 to 110 volt transformer. I am looking forward to your suggestions as well. I've got a couple more, and one very, very important, perhaps the most important suggestion at the end. But first, I I recommend you purchase and bring along some type of solar charger. Here's one. Big Blue is from a friend of mine. Rav Power was one I bought. I think mine was like 13 watt, and his was what, 28 watt or something like that, for almost the same size. He bought his more recently, perhaps more efficient technology than when I bought mine. It does add a little bit of weight, but I had to use it during our Typhoon Odette a couple of years ago, what, a year and a half ago, something like that. And I used it. I hung it out the window, laid it on my balcony, and I was able to charge my phones. And if I had a little bit different setup, I could have also charged my laptop. But fortunately, we had a backup generator that would come on intermittently, long enough to charge my laptop up so I could use it some days at least. You can order things like that online here, but if you get it, depending upon what country you're coming from, you may be able to get a higher quality product at a better price than what you might find here. I think there's, because of customs fees, that things shipped in here, perhaps. I will do a separate video probably on solar options at some point in the near future, but at this point in time, that will suffice. What about shoes and clothing? I have found that sizes here are just completely different. I am a medium shirt in the USA, and I come here and I'm usually extra large. I have bought a couple different pairs of shoes, and they've gone from size 9 or 10. Bought a pair of kind of water shoes the other day to use around the water, and they were size 7. I thought, no, there's no way they're going to fit, but perfect fit. And then there's European sizes, there's Asian sizes, US sizes. They're all different as well. So suggest you try clothes on here. If you have large feet or you're larger, you may have problem finding, and especially if you order something online. Well, yeah, order a double extra large or something, and you'll find out, it's like a medium in the USA, perhaps. Get a good pair of non-slip shoes, because I've been walking a number of times and I've thought I've had pretty good non-slip shoes, and I hit a little wet spot, a little different type of material, and almost land on my derriere. A foreign country probably is not the place you want to be doing trial and error, because that could land you in the hospital. PASALUBONG, if I pronounce that correctly, is probably the most important thing you're going to pack. If you're meeting somebody, if you're traveling, even within the Philippines, you leave and you're going to another island, another city to meet somebody, gift giving is a big tradition here. Chocolates seem to be a big favorite. American chocolate, European chocolate, I guess, perhaps other Asian chocolate. If you're in an area, for instance, south of Cebu City, Cebu, the Philippines, big chicharron place, pork rinds, popular for that. And oftentimes there are pasalubong shops set up, and you pick something up and bring it, whatever is popular in that area, bring it back. Filipinos do it to other Filipinos almost always, as well as foreigners coming here to meet other people. Gift giving is a big thing. I went to China, met somebody there, like at the airport, 18, 19 years ago, same thing. Not only did I have a gift, but they had a gift for me, which really surprised me. If I had not shown up with a gift, I would have been a very embarrassing situation. I've had a couple of comments over the years where foreigners coming back here and meeting their friends and family have kept one suitcase just for gifts for those family and friends back here in the Philippines. Don't forget the gift. So what do you think? What did I forget? I know many of you will have additional recommendations as well. If anything, I overpacked. I probably overpacked, and that's easy to do. But you know, you can buy a lot of things here. I've noticed I bought like cargo pants here, and you can buy heavier material, heavier duty type things that last longer. I have tended to buy the lighter duty materials, and you know, they don't last as long. Tennis shoes I brought from the Philippines, I will tell you, lasted much longer than the tennis shoes, sneakers, whatever you want to call them, that I have bought here. Not sure why that is. Undergoing the same walking routine pretty much. Um, you will not find some of the brands, well, in the clothing stores, you will find some of the same brands, but oftentimes cut to the Asian physique and not the Western physique, perhaps. Been my observation. So if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. I've got over 1,000 videos, about 7 years worth of videos, cost of living, travel videos, a lot of condo type videos. I've reviewed many different condos. What do you get? What do they cost? Rental type videos, and lots of other travel videos as well. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.